So excited to be joined by one of the fastest rising stars in WWE and NXT and pro wrestling, Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining me today on Under the Ring Pro Wrestling Conversations.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
So I kind of want to start by asking, who is Tiffany Stratton? How different is she from the kind of the person behind the persona? And are there elements of Tiffany Stratton in you?
I would definitely say that I don't really play a character. I would say that when I go out there, I am myself. I'm just turned up a bit. I am very out there. I'm very bold. I'm athletic. Everything comes easy to me. And I would say that that's very much Tiffany Stratton.
Very good, very good. And what's coming up? You've got the NXT Women's Championship tournament going on right now. Semifinals Tuesday with yourself versus the former champion Roxanne Perez. The other semifinal being Lyra Valkyria and Cora Jade. How do you see this tournament going? It's some really good competition among the women in NXT.
Yeah, I would say that my biggest obstacle is Roxanne Perez, and I go up one-on-one next week against her. We have some history. We're both in the breakout tournament, and we were both in the finals of the breakout tournament, and she actually ended up winning. But back then, I was a newbie. I was just getting my name out there. I had only a couple matches under my belt, and I feel like now I have really grown as a wrestler. I have so many more matches under my belt. So it should be interesting. I am excited.
And the other two chances you've had at the championship were both multiple person matches. You have the 6-way ladder match at the Stand and Deliver show and the triple threat versus Indy and Roxanne. So conceivably, this is going to be one-on-one if things go the way they're supposed to on Tuesday with a winner for each one. It seems like this is just absolutely the best opportunity of your young career to this point.
Oh yeah, this is my first, I feel like, big opportunity. I feel like I'm very prepared. There was a tournament last year, like I said, the women's breakout tournament. I was still new to this, and I feel like now, like, I have grown so much. Like, I feel like I'm ready now, and it's gonna be like I've got to step it up. I have to step up to the plate, and I feel like I'm ready to step it up. And it's my time to shine. It's Tiffy time.
Very good. So you competed at gymnastics at an extremely high level before you were in WWE. How did you make the decision to become a wrestler, and what has the process been like for you at the WWE Performance Center?
Yeah, so I was a gymnast up until I think it was 19 or 20 years old. I kind of saw wrestling on TV. I always knew about it. Like, my brother and my dad would always watch it growing up. I never really got into it until, like, later on. I was still a gymnast, and I saw SmackDown on my TV one day, like, flipping through the channels with my family, and I saw it, and I was like, immediately like, wow, that's so cool. I feel like that's a lot of the things that I can do. Like, I saw Charlotte Flair I saw her corkscrew moonsault out of the ring. I saw that, and I was like, that is so cool. I can totally do that. I do that on the trampoline like every day. But my process of getting to the PC, I had my tryout actually 4 years ago. It was actually like right before COVID happened, and then unfortunately I didn't get to like do the full tryout, and they sent everybody home. And then I tried out like a year and a half later. It went well. I got signed a couple weeks after the tryout, and came to the PC to August of 2021. And since then, it's been crazy. I literally got on TV within the first 4 months of being at the PC, and then ever since then, it's just kind of taken off.
I was kind of blown away too, to doing a little bit of research on this, that there was some connection to Greg Gagne through all of this in Minnesota. And just
Yeah.
how much did you know about him and his dad before this? And just what exactly was that connection that led from that step to this step?
I didn't really know much about him, actually. My mom's a nurse practitioner, and she was over at this guy's house, like, doing her nurse stuff, doing work, and like, she came across some photos of him, like some wrestling photos. I don't know what it was. and she mentioned that her daughter, me, wanted to get into it, and she just didn't know how. And he was like, I know Greg Gagne. Like, why don't I hook her up with him and see if he can help her or anything? And then we kind of texted back and forth, and he was a little hesitant at first, but he actually decided to kind of like take a look at me and like see how I ran the ropes and stuff. And we went to Mr. Kennedy's gym, Ken Anderson, in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. And I took my first bump, and he was like, okay, I see something in you. I think we can work with this. And then he trained me for a little bit, and then he's the reason I'm basically here. I wouldn't be here without him.
That's terrific. And Minnesota has such a rich history of this industry too, and obviously he and his father are an enormous piece of that. So it was really fascinating for me as somebody who's watched it for decades now to learn that there was some connection here from the past to this. It was just really it really blew my mind. Now, we talked about a little bit about your athletic background. When you take the base abilities of somebody who's a gymnast and put them into pro wrestling, sports entertainment, what translates over? Just offhand, like I would think like footwork and body control, but you're the athlete, so you would know a lot more firsthand what kind of skills translate and what might not.
Yeah, I would definitely say, like you said, like body control. And I feel like it helps with ring awareness. You always know kind of where you are in the ring. And also like the mental aspect of it, like the discipline it takes to be a gymnast. I feel like I can conquer anything because of gymnastics. And wrestling it's very difficult, and it's difficult mentally, and you definitely need, some mental strength to be a professional wrestler within WWE.
And what happens when you have so many high level athletes in one place like the WWE PC does now? I mean, there's some absolutely ridiculously high level college athletes, all sorts of disciplines, all sorts of sports. Is it just super competitive all the time there?
Oh yeah, it's very competitive. Everyone wants a spot on TV. Everyone's working hard. I see a lot of gymnasts come in and they pick it up insanely quick. Like I think there's a trend with gymnasts and in wrestling, and they pick it up way faster than a track runner, someone who played soccer. I just think gymnasts, like we need to recruit more gymnasts in general. But yeah, it's very competitive at the PC and getting on TV, getting on Level Up. But yeah, everyone is supportive of everyone. It's not very, nasty or anything.
And it's also good seeing, just the variety of different disciplines that WWE
Mm-hmm.
recruits from. It's kind of fascinating with the NIL program happening now too, but also, some people who are in independent wrestling. There's tons of those people to pick the brains of in NXT too. Have had long careers there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you enjoy putting things in your match that just drop people's jaws? Even though you're both still relatively new to the game, your match with Sol Ruca certainly opened some people's eyes in terms of kind of what's on the horizon. What was that? What was that one like for you? And do you like doing that?
I love putting together matches, and I love coming up with unique skills that nobody's ever done before. And with Sol and I, we both have that gymnastics background. We're both kind of known for our acrobatic skills in the ring. So it was very cool putting a match together with her. We're both kind of like newbies on the come up, and it was cool to have some people talking about us and, saying that like we're the next big things and stuff. So that was fun.
And both so new into it, like you said too. It's like I would actually be fascinated to see what that match looks like in 4 years, in
Oh yeah,
5 years, when it's at a different, level of both of your development too.
for sure. It won't be the first time that we ever lock up, or the
Right.
last time.
So you seem like someone who's very engaged in the character end of pro wrestling. Are you someone who comes up with or collaborates with some of your own details? I was thinking like about promos, your reactions, your sayings, your look, your gear, just kind of what goes into the whole persona and and how you develop it.
Um, I definitely have some inspiration, like from movie characters, like Sharpay Evans from High School Musical. I love Paris Hilton. I love her style. But for the most part, I've kind of just kind of created like my own little sayings, like Tiffany's Epiphanies or Tiffy Time. That's all kind of just been like me coming up with things, and all of like my outfits, my gear, it's all me coming up with the concepts and trying to figure out like how do I get my character across when someone just kind of looks at me.
Interesting. Do you have a name for your fans yet? That's a good one.
I don't have a name.
So I think that might have to develop over time.
Yeah.
You mentioned before your kind of fast track to the top. You definitely entered WWE at a unique time with the NXT 2.0 rebrand going on, and a lot of different opportunities for new talents, many of which had very little ring time. How did you feel about getting that opportunity so fast? Did you feel like you were ready? The first time stepping into the ring on Level Up.
I definitely felt nervous. I was not, I could have been more prepared, but I am someone who will always step up to the plate and I will deliver when I need to. I work very well under pressure. So I think I thrived when they told me like you're on Level Up tomorrow, be ready. So yeah, and then I got on NXT TV a couple months later and I felt pretty ready. I definitely have gotten better with like the more reps I got on TV. Like my first match when I debuted was a little iffy, but ever since like my first match, I've gotten better. Every single time I'm on TV, I always bring something new to the table, or I just get better every time.
What's kind of the hardest part of kind of developing in wrestling?
The hardest part? It's a good question. Pro wrestling is just hard in general. There's so many different, I feel like, aspects of pro wrestling that you need to be good at. Like you can't just be good at, the promo stuff. You have to be good at the in-ring stuff. You have to be good with, bumping. You have to be good with, in-ring psychology, selling, your promos, like your character. There's so many different aspects to pro wrestling that I feel like you can always get better. There's always room for improvement.
And just with how fast that you moved onto TV, one of the immediate comparisons that comes to mind for me is somebody like a Kurt Angle, who go from like 3 or 4 days of training, just be right in the ring. And, it's an interesting comparison to just see how quickly some of these athletes are developing. And that's probably part of the competitive nature of the Performance Center too, just to see where you are kind of in relation to everybody else.
Yeah, I definitely feel like amateur wrestlers, they pick it up quickly. Obviously, it's pro wrestling. But yeah, there's a lot of people at the PC that have caught on very quickly. And most of the time, it's the gymnasts and the amateur wrestlers too.
And I think the amateur wrestlers, their base of knowledge is interesting too, because it's just, where you're going to have the footwork and the body control of a gymnast. They've got, obviously the base of, the throws and all the different maneuvers and stuff like that too, doesn't always completely translate into exactly what you need in a pro wrestling match though. So it's just a different base of abilities. So it's interesting that you thought that the gymnasts you see some gymnasts in pro wrestling, but it's not really like, it's not something I could say like, oh, that's an amazing number of people that have come from gymnastics into wrestling. And I'm not sure it's something maybe in that field that people are maybe even thinking about. Do you think they're kind of thinking about that a little bit more now that they see people like you and Danny Palmer and Sol Ruca in there and see the level of success that you can get?
Oh yeah, I definitely feel like I think they've noticed like within the PC too, like the coaches realize that it's always the gymnasts that catch on very quickly, and I feel like people like the fans are starting to realize, okay, if they have a gymnastics background, they're naturally going to be good at this.
And you said too, like the discipline of a gymnast, the discipline of an amateur wrestler is a big piece of that puzzle too.
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see how the recruiting goes in the next little while, to see if there are, different types of athletes that they get in there. That's pretty interesting. What are your immediate goals in WWE and NXT?
In NXT, I definitely want to win the title. I want to be NXT Women's Champion, and I want to be a dominant champion. I want to hold it for a while, and then I want to get called up to Raw or SmackDown, and I want to be, like a dominant force and someone who is considered a threat to people or to women in the division when I get called up.
And going back to the PC a little bit, is there anybody on the coaching there, or any active wrestlers who you kind of consider mentors, or you've kind of gravitated towards in terms of coaching?
Yeah, I would say Norman Smiley, Fit Finley, and Sarah Amato. They've all helped me tremendously.
And what kind of pieces of advice are they giving you as you move forward?
Fit Finley definitely helps me with looking aggressive and looking vicious and looking nasty. He was like known for that, so he helps me a lot there. Norman helps me with like the amateur wrestling, like the holds and the getting out of it, and he always has something cool to show me. And then Sarah Amato helps me with like in-ring psychology, helping me to put certain moves where they need to be and stuff like that.
Yeah, three of the absolute best. Obviously, Fit has a ton of experience as being really one of the architects of the women's division, who was not a woman, who kind of really was constantly pushing for people to get those opportunities. Norman is somebody I'm always fascinated to hear about, and I'd love to talk to him sometime. Just the variety of human beings that he gets to coach and just give. He has such a wealth of knowledge style wise too.
Mm-hmm. Norman Smiley's great.
That's basically the sum up that I've heard from pretty much anybody that's ever been through the PC, because he's touched the careers of almost everybody who's been in the company at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has been there for such a long time, and he's helped so many people. And I feel like more people should come to him and take his advice, and because he has a lot of knowledge within wrestling.
Was he the first coach for you on your first day?
He was. I was put into his class right away, and he kind of like took care of me and like showed me the basics of wrestling, and then slowly like progressed, and I went to different coaches, but I still always go back to him.
Interesting. And how much of that, like once you moved on to the PC from what you were doing with like Greg Gagne and Ken Anderson, how much of that was like refresher and how much of it was brand new?
A lot of it was a refresher, but some of it, like the WWE style was a little bit different than what I kind of learned at Ken Anderson's. So there was definitely some things that I learned right away, and some of it was a refresher. Some of it was brand new. So, yeah.
Very interesting. And knowing too what the Gagne history is too. I don't know if Greg ever mentioned how he broke into the business, but it was very, very different from WWE, with his dad doing those crazy training camps in the barn and everything like that. So yeah, boy, I mean, his dad produced so many amazing performers when you look at the list of Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat and everybody else. So we're going to move on to something we call the 3 count now. It's going to be 3 quick questions and your responses. So first question: when you have a good idea away from the ring, do you ever have to stop yourself from saying that you're having a Tiffany epiphany?
Yeah, I catch myself actually having a lot of Tiffany epiphanies. But I don't scream out, "I'm having a Tiffany epiphany" every time.
That's good. That's good. So second question: if there was NXT karaoke, who would be the best and who would be the most fun?
Lash Legend. That girl can sing. She has got a voice on her.
So she would be the best. Is there anybody who would be the most fun, do you think?
To
watch.
The most fun to watch. Maybe Trick Williams.
Interesting. Yeah, he's pretty fascinating to watch at all times, pretty much. And what would your song be if you participated?
My song. I cannot think of one on the top of my head. Maybe something from like High School Musical. I Want It All by Sharpay Evans.
That works. And last question: if you were not a WWE superstar, what would you be doing?
Oh, I don't know what I would be doing. I would probably be doing something with social media or I've always been intrigued with hair and makeup, so maybe a hair and makeup artist.
Very good. Well, Tiffany Stratton, thank you so much for joining me today on Under the Ring Pro Wrestling Conversations. We've got the tournament coming up on Tuesday, and then the Battleground Premium Live event right after it in Lowell. It's going to be fun to get in front of a live crowd for you. Big opportunities coming up all over the place.
Yes, I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you.